Step one.
Step one. No fancy fuel. Coffee bags.
Old burlap coffee bags.
Yeah, best smoking fuel. Okay. So smoke, as we think we know it, tells bees that there is a fire in the forest, and the next meal may be the last one for a while, so they have to go and gorge themselves some honey and get ready if it gets hot to fly out and find a new home.
So when you put that smoke in there, they will begin to consume the honey in the hive?
Yeah, they'll be going gorge on honey,
Mm-hmm.
and also they communicate chemically.
So
This disrupts, that
what-
makes it a lot noisy.
what I've always heard about how it sort of lulls them isn't necessarily really,
No, they don't get.
that's not really
no,
true.
That's not.
Which explains why when I was in
Is
the
that,
army I got stung so many times trying to steal honey from
The
beehives.
family-friendly video.
Yeah.
Yeah, smoke does not do anything to them as far as they don't get.
It just preoccupies them.
They don't get munchies.
Yeah.
So I prepared home for them.
So this is the new home.
This is the new home, and I warmed it up in the house. They get it. Usually they would be getting frames with just the plastic foundation,
Uh-huh.
but this time they get furnished apartments with the previous tenants living all the.
Okay. So that's just an old screen. And you can see are some of those still pupae in there that were they
Yeah, old brood and stuff, but
Yeah.
they will clean it within a day
right?
and polish the cells and prepare it for the queen bee.
It's interesting too that when you look at this, there's not a lot of room for bees to hang out in here, is there?
It comes with pantry here. There's
Oh, and that's got some honey in it. You can see it
nectar.
glistening. Yeah.
Yeah, glistening is nectar, and covered is the honey.
Uh-huh.
So they can start.
So they
to
get a little bit of a meal before they.
head start. Yes.
Yeah.
True,
How many
right.
bees would be in a hive this size?
At the peak population during summer, 80,000.
80,000 in just this box?
It's not really about the box. It's about how much bees does the queen think she needs.
Well,
That's
the reason I'm
40,000.
asking is I'm looking at this box and I'm seeing, the only real space for the bees is between these things and just maybe a couple inches at the bottom. It
Oh
looks
yeah,
like.
at the top, at the bottom, and they don't all have to be inside
Yeah.
the box.
Which makes me realize just how much time they spend outdoors rather than in a hive.
Oh,
Yes, I
3,000.
found out today that bees are purchased by the pound.
Yes. And the queen is with them, so they're all clustered.
And what are you spraying it down with?
Spraying them down with some sugar water so they can get busy clinging each other,
Ah,
and they get a little sticky
uh-huh.
so they don't fly away before they get the chance to find out where they're going.
So you kind of humanely hobble them for a little bit to keep them around.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I'm going to spray them, knock them down, spray them again so they get all a little sticky. And I'm going to take the queen bee out of there. She's hanging in the cage.
Uh-huh.
Keep her in the pocket. Shake the bees in there. Spread them down a little bit like a pizza sauce. So I can put the rest of the frames in.
Right.
Then I'm going to take the queen, open her cage, plug it with a little marshmallow so she can't escape right away. But the bees will eat through 4 hours. They will eat through that marshmallow and release her.
Do you throw in some graham cracker and maybe a Hershey bar just so they can make some s'mores if they want?
Hey, I'm doing a lot for them already. Housing, healthcare,
It is
security. All I'm asking
It's
is,
not a bad gig for them.
yeah, they pay
Just want a little honey.
It's a yearly payment.
So there's the queen. And other than the fact that it's noticeably larger, but it's not like gargantuanly larger, is it?
Longer
Yeah.
abdomen.
Yeah.
Is
So
short.
now we're gonna get 2 pounds of bees in the hive.
Ready?
I'm ready. Wow.
No resources, no home. So unless they feel like they've been squeezed to death, they're not gonna attack you.
I'm sure you can hear that quite well.
queen.
And so the idea here is just to kind of keep them in there for a while
them
so that
in,
they
yeah.
begin to feel like it's their new home.
See, she's got a little mark
Okay.
on her back. When she turns around, you will see that she's...
Yep, that little blue mark.
Yep.
Yep.
It's color coded by year, so you know what year your queen is.
And how old will a queen get to?
In Minnesota, with winters and stuff, they can get... Average is 2, but some queens can live up to 3-5 years.
Wow.
But that's extreme. And
Got to tell you, Gary, I'm kind of wondering why we don't have these hats out with us when we're mushroom hunting to keep the mosquitoes at bay. Like I can actually see out of this, unlike those mesh deals that we occasionally wear.
If you actually stop and think, it's going to get torn by the branches.
So you're gonna put a marshmallow there, so it's got to eat its way out.
When she's away, because she's trying to get out.
Yeah, look at her already. Yeah.
Yeah, when she's away. Oh, she fell down.
In goes the marshmallow.
Oh, oh, oh. Okay. Might have to remove one. Right, we'll see. Yeah, she fits. They will
I'm just
release
gonna
her.
lodge it in there a little bit.
Yeah, they will release her. Here we go. They need this because they cannot fly out and gather pollen.
And what is that?
It's basically a pollen substitute. It's some natural pollen, some...
When you handed it to me earlier, it seemed like it might be tasty for me to eat. There was
Well,
something about its consistency
it's
that I
sweet.
liked.
It's sweet, sure. It takes them a while to push it out, but then they will be able to...
So just putting up a few extra roadblocks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if they go too quick, they will
Right.
not realize where to come back.
So it's possible they could just take off and just never come back to this hive if you didn't
Well,
do
no,
that.
they will come back here, but they will not know which hive.
Mm,
And if they try to get into any other ones, unless they bring in nectar,
yeah.
the bouncers would not let them
Oh, they'll attack them.
in.
Right.
They can beg their way in, but only if they have something to offer.
Interesting.
To remove.
So this is one of the hives that's been wintering all season.
Yes. Yes. I just want to know what the state of
What's been happening?
population
Yeah.
and whether or not they're close to starving on the resources from last year. So I will have to.
Yeah, so we'll be able to see how much honey's left after they've been wintering. Which is, after all, the actual purpose of the honey.
Yeah. But the beekeeper needs to know how much to take and how much to leave. If he takes too much, he's got no bees for the next
Yeah,
season.
you could unintentionally just starve out your colony, huh? If you're too greedy.
See how I gave them some pollen in case it's cold and snowy.
And it doesn't look like they really needed it.
Doesn't look that they need it,
Yeah.
but they start eating it. You see,
Yeah.
right between the frames.
Right.
There's more. Okay. So now we're gonna see how much brood we have. The outermost frames mostly supposed to be just storage. Oh, they have
Oh,
plenty.
wow, look at that.
They still have plenty.
Like a lot of honey still on there. Huh?
Okay, so that is storage. Now, one by one, you should film here. I'm gonna check how is the progression. This one is storage too. The center, hopefully, already capped brood. This is storage too. Oh, they have plenty.
Yeah.
Should have taken more last fall. They didn't need as much.
Mental note. Wow.
And we have some brood.
You know, that's interesting. Like, why are they building? Are they just expanding
When they
on the honeycomb that they're building outside of it?
see
There?
the queen, the queen is right here.
Oh yeah. See that one, guys? Got the little green dot there.
Right, this one.
Yeah.
And she's here because she's laying eggs.
She's busy already.
Okay, I need my queen catcher, I guess. Can you find her again?
Let's see here.
She might have jumped off. There.
Oh yeah. Very scientific approach to catching this queen.
There she is.
There you go.
So we don't hurt her when we go through the...
So we got that queen isolated down.
You see little white specks like a tiny rice grains inside the cells?
Are they pupae or what? Are those eggs?
Eggs that just laid.
Yeah.
Less than 3 days old.
Wow. And how long will that take from egg to...
21 days for a worker bee.
21.
There's sealed cap
Wow, that's
brood.
a nice...
See, on a day 7 they cap it.
So all of this stuff that is new, this stuff right there at the
Yes,
top, yeah,
yes.
that they've covered.
But this stuff
This
here,
is all older.
the bigger ones here,
Yeah,
that looks like a popcorn,
right.
those are drones.
Ah,
They have bigger bodies, so
Uh-huh.
they build special cells for them. And if they're making drones, that means they're feeling really good about their state, because drones are very energy inefficient.
uh-huh. So they can't afford to have a ton of them unless they're a really healthy
Yes.
hive.
Right. Ooh, yeah, a lot of brood. And this is the second wave of brood because the brood here has emerged. It comes from the center.
Oh,
It's
really?
emerged. These ones are emerging now. And the next
Is
wave...
this one like poking out right there, or is
Yeah,
that one dipping
where?
in?
This one?
No, right there.
There's one emerging right now,
Yeah.
chewing. Yep.
Look at that.
So these are emerging. This is the next generation.
So you can probably answer a question that's been burning for a long, long time for me. When I was a youngster, one of my best buddies' mom was really into gardening, flowers specifically, and so there were a lot of bees in their yard. And one year, Scotty Jablonski and I decided that we could get honey if we could catch enough of these bees, put them in Kemp's ice cream buckets, and eventually they'd give us some honey. Of course, we were really catching bumblebees, right? The big fat deals. So, like, what determines what bees produce honey? I mean, they all produce honey, I would imagine, right? To some degree.
No.
No?
Only females can be foragers. Males, only purpose in life is find the queen that is on her mating flight and mate with her.
So it's very similar to the human animal.
Except for in the fall, queen issues an order when we don't need any more.
Right? Enough's
Babies.
enough. Yeah.
But
But my question is, why doesn't a bumblebee, whether it's male or female, do they produce honey?
only honeybees are natural hoarders, which means they will keep gathering and storing honey as long as there is a nectar and there is space. They don't go to a certain amount.
Right.
That's why beekeepers
Where a
keep
bumblebees might only make
Bumblebees
enough to
feed-
eat and that's it.
Yes, they feed, they grow population. Winter comes, everybody die except
Have you ever
for-
had like bumblebee honey?
No,
I wonder what it would taste like.
we are now.
What if it's like super, super delicious? You can only get tiny quantities, but it's unbelievably good.
We're gonna be ridiculed for questions like that so much.
Oh, look at that. There's a fully exposed larvae there. All right, so she's situated perfectly. I'm just gonna paint her up a little more. So
There you
can
go.
easily see
Now we'll
her
let it
now.
dry.
It's kind of a handy little contraption, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't want her to smear her new.
All right.
Not yet, not yet. I'm waiting.
There she is.
And down she
There
goes.
she goes. None worse for the wear.
You try right.
So, you know, it's interesting they're trying to breed these genetics into them because, as you mentioned, in the 80s, we had this infestation,
It's called varroa mite.
varroa mite,
Yes, it's a parasitic mite that sits on them and sucks the life out of them.
right? But I liked where you're going with that about, you know, here, we, because, because we're a rich country, we essentially inoculated them. Is that, you know?
Well, we did not inoculate them. They were spread from Europe, Eurasia, I should say,
Yeah,
like everything else because of the global shipping
Sure.
and stuff. But we allowed mites to survive because we're supporting artificially, we're supporting health of the bees. We can't afford to lose 85% of population of the bees. For one reason is
well, but how did they achieve that? They had to achieve that through some dust or through somehow apply this to the bees, right? To keep the mites away or at bay.
yeah, there are different medications. At first, of course, it was let's synthesize one,
Yeah,
kind of like antibiotic.
Right.
It was a nerve agent for the mites, but it only worked on one gene in the mites. So as everything was synthetic, we killed almost all the mites. The mites that survived developed resistance really quickly.
right.
So this medication went from 98% efficacy, I should
Right.
say, to I tried it once and no results ever.
Huh.
So natural,
It seems like that's a warning to mankind is where I was going with this, right? Like, if we're not exposed to those things in nature, then there's no way to build up a resistance to those things or for any adaptation to occur.
if you want to develop resistance in population, expose.
Yeah, right.
But you gotta be able to pay the price of losing
Yeah,
85% of population.
yeah.
So in South Africa, they didn't have choice. They got just devastated.
Well, the thing that's interesting to me, I'm going to go home and research this more, is like, to your point, well, they couldn't afford to, and I know you're not using it in the classic term of money necessarily, but my question then is, well, apparently they could, like they did, and now they're better off than we are. Like, what would have, it's interesting to think about, well, what would have happened if we had taken their approach? I mean, clearly we would have had some devastation for a year, but how quickly would it have recovered?
I would say for like, and again, I'm just estimating.
Yeah, right.
I would say 5 to 8 years, we would have no almonds, no almond milk. Crops would not be pollinated. Farmers would suffer. I mean, no, we can't afford it. The way we
Okay.
build the system, it's too big to fail.
Yeah.
Only it's not banking.
Or maybe regionally, something. It just seems, no.
Like something between 80 and 90% of all the commercially kept bees
Yeah.
in the United States are shipped to California for 2-3 weeks to pollinate almonds
Right.
because of the monoculture.
Who knew that people loved almonds that much, right?
I like almonds and I like almond milk.
I'm with you on that one.
But also, like, the lesson here is if you love something and you're finding the way to get more than nature intended, somewhere, someone, somehow is not getting what they want to get and they need to get.
Right.
So because of almonds everywhere, this beautiful blooming area, whole California is blooming for 3 weeks. And when it's done, there's no other
Food source like
food
that.
source
Yeah.
for any pollinators to sustain.
Right.
So they need to get out of there. And moving them throughout the country also spreads disease,
Yeah.
obviously.
And it was interesting too, Gary mentioned earlier that there's in many respects more money to be made in the sale and transportation of bees than there is in the honey that they produce.
Not as much in the sales and transportation, but in pollinating contracts.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
that's essentially
I
what
would-
they're doing though, right?
I would lease my bees
Sure. You got bees for
to
hire.
pollinate apple orchard, for
Right.
example. And then every flower will bear an apple, a fruit.
I love this
Otherwise-
too because it's a bit like the weatherman analogy in my mind. Like, I could bring my bees out to pollinate this person's apple orchard, but how do they really know that they did their job?
Oh, because
I mean, you would know eventually if no fruit showed up, but
because either they believe the science,
Yeah.
or they tried and then they had no apples,
Yeah.
or a lot less apples.
Right.